questions. How many of you guys know how to drive? Okay, how many of you guys know how to drive stick shift? Okay. According to CNN, only 4% of new cars sold in America are manual. For decades, almost all automakers offered almost all their vehicles with the chance of automatic or manual drivetrains. The manual transmission, otherwise known as a stick shift or standard transmission, was the first type of transmission available in vehicles. I know many of you guys choose to drive automatic because it's super, it's really simple. Like, just turn on and move your little shift gear. It's super easy. But for me, the only cars that were in my house were stick shift, so that's kind of complicated for me because I didn't really like to drive stick shift because it was super hard. And then by realizing I had to walk everywhere, school and work, I was so lazy to walk anywhere. Manual transmissions take slightly more work to operate, but they provide some benefits. Cars with manual transmissions get about 10% better gas mileage than their automatic counterparts, and they're $700 less, and they give you more control in tough situations. For example, for me, some fun things I like to do with stick shifts is like drifting and burnouts. I have a video. Okay, from my experience, as I talked about, when I first got into a stick shift car, it sucked. Like, I couldn't even figure out how to turn on the car because I always let off the clutch too early and I didn't turn it on. And I got so frustrated because I wanted to turn it on. Like, I wanted to try it, but I gave up and I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. And I just kept on asking my brothers for rides, but it got to the point where they got tired of taking me everywhere, like Ma or stuff like that. And then they're like, hurry up and get yourself in the car so I can teach you. And also the main reason I also wanted to learn because all my family thinks that women shouldn't even drive stick shift cars, and I was like, what? That doesn't even make sense. And also when you're buying a car, let's say you're buying a car for the first time, you're gonna see a really nice car, but then when you get in the car, you're gonna see it's stick shift. Like, what? How am I gonna do this? I want that car, but I can't drive it. And it's gonna be hard because you're gonna end up leaving that car and you're gonna feel so disappointed in yourself that you didn't even know how to drive it. So starting off, when you're getting into the car, for an automatic, there is 2 pedals. But when you get into a stick shift car, you see there's 3 pedals. The one on the left is the clutch, the one in the middle the brake, and the one on the right is the accelerator. And also the difference is for a stick shift car, there is the shift gear, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the reverse. And as I talked about the pedals and the gears, I'm going to talk about how to start up a car. When you start up a stick shift car, you have to make sure you step on the clutch all the way down. You turn on the ignition and you release the e-brake. Next, I'm going to be talking about how to go into first gear. When you're going into first gear, that's the trickiest part because you have to make sure the clutch and the acceleration is balanced right away, so they don't so it doesn't go forward and go too fast. When you're going on first gear, you step on the clutch, you put it in first gear, and then you make sure it's going a little bit. When you see that it's going a little bit faster, you have to release off the clutch and give a little more gas. If you step on the clutch too much, then you're gonna end up burning the clutch, and that's super bad. You're gonna if you burn the clutch, your car is useless. You can't shift the gears or you can't even move it. That's what happened to my brother, and now he's stuck paying $500. You guys don't want to do that. It sucks. Another tip is when you're going and you're gonna trying to shift gears, you have to step on the clutch, go to second gear, and then let go of the clutch and release it, and then you do the rest for the third gear, the fourth gear, the fifth gear. Also, another tip is when you're moving, make sure not to not to go too slow, because if you go too slow, your car's gonna stall and it's gonna turn off on you, and you're gonna panic like, oh my god, my car is gonna stop in the middle of the road. It's okay, just don't panic. Just restart the clutch, restart the ignition, and go into first gear. When you're switching off every gear, make sure you switch off every 3,000 RPMs. And first to second gear is 15 miles per hour, second to third, 30 miles per hour, and so on. And another tip, when you're braking, you have to step on the clutch a little bit, and then really go back. Like, let's say you're in fifth gear, you step on the clutch a little bit, go to fourth, third, until you hit the first gear and come to a complete stop. And when you're trying to park your car, it's the same thing as braking. You're gonna go into first gear. You're gonna go back to reverse gears, and then when you come to a complete stop, don't release your brake yet, because if you do, then your car's gonna end up going backward. You have to make sure you pull the e-brake and turn off the ignition, and you successfully park your car. Another tip is, for my car, it has the shift paddles. So it's kind of it's kind of the same thing as the shift knob, but instead of like moving the gear, you're gonna press on the plus or the minus right here. You can see plus and the minus at the bottom. It's the same thing. It's more simpler for you if you want to try to learn stick. So as I'm wrapping this up.
Sorry.